Mother, related to the Navaratri celebration, which starts tomorrow. And in the Navaratri worship, which is a worship of the Divine Mother is worshipped primarily in the three main aspects, which are called Durga or Kali, and then Lakshmi and Saraswati. And Swami Sivananda explains why is the worship in this way, and we are going to see the teaching, because Durga is the destructive aspect of the mother. First of all, the negative impressions, the negative vasanas of the mind need to be cleared out if we are to move anywhere spiritually. Otherwise, all these impurities sitting in the mind do not allow the mind to really move forward. So therefore, Durga comes first, and she is the destructive aspect. Then Lakshmi, after purification takes place substantially, the same Divine Mother will manifest as Lakshmi. And Lakshmi is what is called Daivi Sampath, the divine qualities. The mind becomes a divine mind after it's purified from the lower qualities by Durga. So the same Durga manifests now as Lakshmi when the mind is pure. She manifests as the divine qualities, which make the mind a divine mind. And then, when the mind becomes deeply pure, ultimately Divine Mother comes as Saraswati and confers knowledge of the self. She illuminates the mind. She makes the mind not an impediment to self-knowledge. Okay, so she clears ignorance. Discrimination dawns, and the nature of the self is known through the mind. It's not that the mind knows the self, it is recognized who is the knower. So when we say worship, what the yogis mean by worship, they mean recognition. God is ever present, God is everything, there is nothing but God. But because of the impurities of the mind, we have a false sense of self. We think this is an individual being and the whole world is different from me. And then we have all sorts of wrong relationship to ourselves, to other people, and to the world, which are called impurities, which make this world what the yogis call samsara. Basically, a place full of suffering. The place is not a geographical place, the place is our own mind. This is where all the suffering is generated. So, recognition means that we are able to recognize the divine reality gradually. For this, the mind needs to be purified. This is the idea. It's like when we meditate on a concept of God. And concept of God is very important to gradually make that concept closer to reality. But you see, when we meditate on God, what is God doing? God is sending our mind all over the place. See, we are meditating on God, right? We are devoting half an hour of our day, very graciously, right? And what is God doing? Sending out, you see, who do you think sends your mind in all directions? That's God doing. See, the same God that you are trying to meditate on is making sure that your mind goes all over the place. Why? Because God is the one that makes the whole creation operate, including your own mind, according to your past karmic tendencies. So this is called recognition. Therefore, Patanjali Maharishi tells us, surrender to that Lord. There is a cosmic force moving your mind. Surrender to it. Then you can meditate. That's called recognition. So the Navaratri is all about recognition of the Divine Mother. How this reality called Divine Mother is acting in the spiritual path. And recognizing her is worshipping her. This is the idea. So we'll read from Goddess Mother by Swami Chidananda on the destructive aspect. So he writes, destroys to save. Divine Mother destroys in order to save. The Divine Mother destroys, but to save. She destroys ignorance, nescience, in order to bestow knowledge. She destroys darkness, so that we may realize light. She destroys all pain, all sorrow, all misery, and all the earthly travails and tribulations. And bestows upon us bliss, joy, and immortality. Thus, she is a destroyer of all those factors that bind the jiva, or individual soul, to this terrible samsara. So, samsara is indeed terrible, but we are not able to understand samsara yet because of our ignorance. So, ignorance is not only to the self, ignorance is also to suffering. Because in order to understand bondage, we need to understand freedom. You see, if we don't know what freedom is in our nature, we can never understand how much we are bound. See, a person that is born in jail doesn't know that that's a jail. They think this is life. So only when we realize the freedom that lies within our nature, bondage becomes tangible to us. Until then, we don't understand really why the yogis call this world samsara. See, it's not really clear. Okay, there is suffering for sure. I mean, you are on death row. Okay, I can understand this. You see? So that's okay. You know, people are suffering in all sorts of ways in the world. Okay, but you know, I have my smartphone, and you know, it's okay for me. So we don't really understand. You see, we understand samsara when we understand knowledge. When we know what the yogis mean by the self, that actually we are the self, then we begin to understand samsara. Not before, it's impossible. Because only when we understand freedom, we can understand bondage. This is the idea. But samsara means the world of bondage. She is a terrible destroyer of all terrible things, and the benign bestower of blessedness and beatitude. So the Divine Mother, Swami Chidananda says, destroys terribly. So when it comes to impurities, she is a terrible destroyer. Meaning, you know, it's like when we have a wound, right? Children are afraid of putting something on the wound because it burns. Something like this. When the Divine Mother sees that we are bound into something which is dangerous for us spiritually, and we want to evolve spiritually, we are invoking her. See, if we don't invoke her, no problem. like we saw last time. If we choose to be deluded, she will give us all the means. No problem, go on, be deluded. As long as delusion is our choice, she will supply the means. This is the idea. But if we want to move towards freedom, then she will begin to remove those things which bind us. And because we are deeply identified with those things, it will be sometimes a terrible thing. Like you take from a child a toy. You know, when you take from a child a toy, an adult thinks, you know, what is it? Why are you crying? You know, go and do something better. Don't waste your time with toys. You cannot say such a thing to the child. The whole psychology is wrapped around the toys. You see, if you take the toy away, it's a devastating thing for a child. So attachments or giving up attachments can be a devastating thing for a bound person. And the mother does what she needs. And when it's time to take things away, she will take them away. This is the idea. But he says she is there, at the same time, she bestows knowledge and beatitude. She confers countless blessings after she removes the negative forces. She does both. Thus it is that the mother is conceived of as the destroyer of one of her own aspects. Just as by the power of will, and will is also a portion of the mind, we overcome certain weaknesses and evils in the same mind. So, Swami Chidananda explains, it is the mother that destroys. What is she destroying? She destroys her own lower nature. See, who is the lower nature in your mind? That's the mother. You didn't create it. The mother resides in you as avidya maya, as the power of bondage. She is residing in us. All our delusions are the Divine Mother. See, this is why it's so important, because as long as we treat it as something different from me, we will not be able to overcome it. When we are able to recognize that even this is the Divine Mother, we are on the way out. This is the idea. So therefore he says, she destroys her own lower aspect. Just like with your own mind, you are able to overcome a certain weakness in the mind. It's the same mind that overcomes its own aspect. So the Divine Mother destroys her own lower manifestations. This is what he's saying. Those things that she destroys are not different from her. They are her herself. This is why it's also called Lila. Lila means divine play. Because then why did she put it in you in the first place? And who are you? You see, if there is only the Divine Mother, then what is going on? So we have 9 nights to see what is going on. This is the idea. See, it's all about recognizing who is the Divine Mother. Why? So we become spiritually free. As Vidya Maya, as the power of knowledge, Mother using her aspect as Kali destroys avidya and takes us to the transcendental Brahman. So he says, as Vidya Maya, as the power of knowledge, which is embodied in the aspect of the mother which is called Kali. Kali is the most destructive aspect of the mother. And why is she the most destructive? Knowledge is the greatest destroyer of ignorance. This is the idea. This is why. So Kali represents knowledge. And therefore she is the greatest destroyer. Thus, we find that Mother Kali stands for a glorified being, a mother who is intent upon giving deliverance from delusion. It is in this aspect that the lover of the mother worships her as Kali. He calls upon her, O compassionate mother, I am at the mercy of this all-powerful mind. I am tyrannized by the ego and the senses. I have become enslaved by the Shadripus and this whole army of vasanas, or karmic tendencies, vrittis, thoughts, and samskaras, or impressions. They are ever battling against me. Therefore, thou alone can save me from these terrible foes. He invokes her aid and power to help destroy all these factors, so that when he cannot battle and overcome them, he gets the strength of the mother, and she graciously comes to his aid, and in her symbolically terrible form, she helps him overcome the senses and attain mastery and victory over the mind. Okay, so what he says, the knowledge aspect of the Divine Mother helps us to overcome the delusion aspect of the same Divine Mother. See, why is the delusion aspect of the Divine Mother so present in us? We have been worshipping her for eons. That's why. See, we worship the Divine Mother in her delusion form for eons. That's why. That's why she is very deeply rooted. This is the idea. But now we are worshipping her in the knowledge form. And then she comes and destroys her own delusion aspects in our own mind. This is the idea. Thus, indeed, is the content of the Durga Saptashati. This is the scripture called Devi Mahatmya, which we will be studying during the Navaratri, which explains the whole story. The story is a story about our own spiritual deliverance. This is what the story is. The scripture which we read during these 9 days, it contains 13 chapters which describe this process of the mother giving battle to on behalf of divine beings and destroying the entire array of cosmic nescience, of wickedness, of all that is a negation of the supreme truth. Each aspect of this negation of truth is depicted in this great scripture, which is a wonderful allegory by some particular demon. And these demons are given appropriate names and forms according to those aspects of nescience. So what we will see in this scripture, we will see the Divine Mother. You see, we think the Divine Mother is probably extremely gracious and kind. And it's going to be a very, beautiful, sweet scripture. But what we find is exactly the opposite. We find that the Divine Mother is busy destroying demons on right, on the left, at the front, at the back, on the top, at the bottom. She's just slaying demons. That's what she's doing. But what is explaining that all these demons are representing the evil qualities, evil means of ignorance in our own mind. All these forces of delusion in our own mind are represented as demons. You see, because this scripture, is a worship of the Divine Mother. How is she worshipped? You need to recognize this thing happening in your own life. This is the idea. The worship is in the meditation, in your daily struggle with the mind. That's where we worship the Divine Mother. And the 13 chapters describe how Mother, using numerous forms of her own self, annihilates all the aspects of evil, of nescience, ignorance, and this cosmic delusion, which she herself is. And at the end, the supreme victory to the powers of wisdom and knowledge is achieved, and the jiva is freed forever from ignorance. Then Swami explains that this is not peculiar only to the Shakta worshippers, those that worship Shakti as their god, but this is in all traditions. Just in many traditions, the power of delusion is viewed as a separate evil being, whereas in the yogic tradition, there is no duality. It is the same reality which manifests as the power of delusion. It is the same reality which removes delusion and manifests as knowledge. There is no duality, there is only one. This is the idea. Not only in consciousness, also in manifestation. There is only one reality, not two. This is the idea. This is the central theme of this great scripture, the Saptashati, or the Devi Mahatmya, the glory of the Divine Mother, where Mother enables her sons to do away with evil with the help of her aspect as Mother Kali. Om Tat Sat. Om, Om, Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om Bolo Sadguru Sivananda Maharaj Ki Jai. Swami Vishnu Devananda Maharaj Ki Jai.
Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning. So we'll go over the schedule for today. At 8 o'clock we have the yoga class on the Bay platform. 10 o'clock the brunch. 11 o'clock we offer the ashram welcome and history tour for any new guest. At 12:30 we continue with the series of workshops on introduction to Sanskrit in the Sivananda Hall. 4 o'clock we have the yoga class, and tonight the evening program and the dinner is combined. So at 6:30 we will be celebrating the Jewish New Year in the dining hall. So this will not be online. So we wish everybody online what we call in Hebrew Shana Tova Umetuka, which means a happy and sweet New Year. And we will be having online the satsang tomorrow morning. And just a few announcements. First of all, we would like to give a warm welcome to our ashram priest, Krishnambudi, who just arrived yesterday from India.